I wondered where it ever disappeared to. So if you ever come across it,
Tell me again about Bernie being your godfather.
Pardon?
Tell me again about Bernie being your godfather.
Oh, Bernard. Well, Bernard, of course, I was very happy that Bernard was my godfather, but he didn't like it when people pointed it out. It made him old. And he used to say, well, I was very young, he used to say. I was very young. But of course, I don't remember godfathers. And he was never like a real loving godfather. I think he sometimes he would really rather that he wasn't my godfather, so to speak. But he was always very nice and polite. Bernie was always very nice and polite. His brother Pat was a bit odd, but Bernie was always very nice. And
What do you mean by odd?
Well, Pat was the kind of person that he sat in the corner and didn't talk too much. You know, quiet. Whereas Bernie was always outstanding and talked about, and he was he liked to read a lot. But they had a big chest of drawers somewhere in the kitchen or somewhere, and you think that they had the whole world hidden in there, you know.
They probably did.
But occasionally, when I was very small, I used to like to see Bernie raising up the lid because there was always sweets in there. And he handed around the sweets.
And Mary went over to help when your mother was sick? Mary, the man, went over to...
Oh, when my mother was sick, Mary came. Lena was the oldest then, Eileen. And there was no one kind of to look after her. And she said, well, Mary Farrell should be here. And Mary came. And listen, she was the best. Took care of my mother, like or helped take care of my mother. And my father, of course, was always very happy that somebody belonging to him was around. But you didn't do anything out of the way while Mary was there. Mary was a little kind of, she kept us in, you know, children are wild. And Mary would keep us in tow. When we went out to play or whatever, and always made sure. And of course, even though we lived beside the Shannon for years, there was always that fear of drowning, that somebody would go too far and get drowned. And when anyone was missing in the house, especially when my grandmother was alive, they would always say, oh, she's gone, run to the Shannon, the same as if they could have saved her then, because we had a little cousin, you know, was drowned.
Oh.
Yeah, we had a cousin that was drowned.
Which cousin was
that? And I
that?
remember this lady saying one time outside the church, after the child was drowned, they said, how did your mother look after all of ye? But my mother had eyes in the back of her head. She'd always know, run to the Shannon.
Yeah.
And the same as you could be said, but we were very, well, we could swim, I suppose. And we knew
which cousin was it that drowned?
Pardon?
Which cousin was it that drowned?
It was one of the Farrells that was drowned. And I remember the woman saying, as I said before, how did your mother look after all of you? But